The vacuum cleaner made more noise than her thoughts ever could. That was part of why Lila Moreau liked it. The hum dulled everything. Her overthinking, her anxiety, the endless loop of a don't mess this up that played in her head every shift. She was 23, shy to the point of social malfunction, and currently employed by Primrose Facilities and Staffing, a high-end cleaning agency contracted to serve New York's wealthiest clients. She wore a grey uniform, kept her eyes low, and stuck to her checklist, always, except today. Today, she got off on the wrong floor. The 49th instead of the 48th, the mistake was innocent enough. The floors all looked the same, polished marble, glass conference rooms, chrome trim. No one was around. Her shift was the late-night rotation, long after the high-powered suits went home. So she pushed her cart in and got to work. It was the most beautiful office she'd ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan. A rare mahogany desk sat at the center like a throne. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with hardcover first editions and crystal sculptures. A single orchid bloomed silently by the window. "This must be a corner suite," Lila whispered, awed. "Whoever works here must be terrifying." She carefully wiped down the glass, avoiding the framed newspaper clippings with headlines like, "Reed Asher acquires Hudson Tech in $200 M deal, the shadow CEO. Who is the mysterious power behind Asher Group?" She paused at the name. Reed Asher. He was a myth among her co-workers. The invisible billionaire, no photos, no interviews, just rumors of boardroom ruthlessness and one-word emails that made executives cry. And she was wiping fingerprints off his desk. Oops, she was polishing a paperweight when the door clicked. Lila froze. Footsteps. Slow, measured, she turned, and there he was, tall, immaculate, ice-blue eyes and jaw like carved stone. His hair was dark, swept back like he'd just come out of a storm and won the argument with it. Reed Asher, and she was in his office. At 9:17 p.m., uninvited, with a lemon-scented cloth in her hand. "I'm sorry," she stammered, backing away. "Guy, I thought this was 48. I'm just the night cleaning." He held up a hand. "Relax." His voice was low, calm, and far more human than she expected. "No one's supposed to be here," he added, walking past her and setting his briefcase on the desk she'd just polished. "Except apparently you. And leave. Right now. Don't." She blinked. He glanced at her uniform. "You clean for Primrose," she nodded. "And you accidentally cleaned my office instead of the floor below, why?" "Yes. Sir." A pause. He looked around. "Well, it's spotless. Better than usual." Her face flushed. "I'll make sure to tell my supervisor." He turned to her, his gaze unreadable. "What's your name?" "Lila Moreau." Another pause. Then, unexpectedly, he offered a faint, amused smile. "You look like a Lila." She didn't know what that meant, but it felt like, not an insult. He should have dismissed her, but instead he sat down, loosened his tie and opened his laptop. Lila hovered awkwardly. Do you want me to finish the room?" "You already did," he said without looking up. "Unless you feel like dusting my inbox too." She gave a weak laugh. To her surprise, he chuckled. That was the first time Reed Asher laughed in front of anyone in years, and the first time Lila Moreau thought maybe she didn't mess up quite as badly as she thought. Lila didn't tell anyone what happened that night. Not her roommate, not her shift manager. Definitely not the talkative receptionist at Primrose who lived to gossip about high-paying clients. She just kept her head down and resumed her regular schedule on floor 48, not 49, where Reed Asher ran a billion-dollar empire and for some reason had let her walk away with her job and dignity intact. Except, it didn't stop there. 3 days later, while Lila was mopping the lobby at nearly midnight, she felt a presence behind her. "Don't worry," a calm voice said. "You're on the right floor this time." Her blood froze. She turned. It was him, Reed Asher. Casually dressed this time, just a fitted black sweater and dark jeans, but still somehow looking like he owned the building, which technically he did. "I didn't expect you," she said. "I work late," he said simply, then gestured toward her mop. "You clean quietly. That's impressive." She blinked. "Is that a compliment?" He smiled faintly. "For me, yes." They didn't talk long. Just a few polite exchanges. But it became a pattern. He'd pass by during her night shift, dropping a few words. Sometimes a dry joke. sometimes a comment about the absurdity of corporate politics. Once he asked what she was reading when he saw her with a dog-eared paperback tucked into her cart. A Persuasion, she said. Austen girl, he noted. A Not Pride and Prejudice? A Too Noisy, she replied. Anne Elliot's quieter. People forget she's watching everything. He gave her a look after that. One she couldn't quite name. A week later, he left her a note. Not in a romantic way, just a post-it on her cleaning cart that read, You forgot a streak near the left corner of the glass, but I let it slide. R.A. She found herself laughing as she wiped the window. She didn't realise the security cameras had picked up her smile, and that Red had rewatched it 3 times that night. By the second week, it was undeniable. There was a pull between them. He started working later, or maybe she started moving slower. Their encounters grew longer. A few minutes at first, then 10, then entire elevator rides where he'd ask her about the books she liked or why she preferred lemon-scented polish over pine. Lemon smells like effort, she said once. Pine smells like cover-up. He actually laughed out loud at that one. She liked that sound. Too much. But then it happened. The elevator doors opened on the 49th floor and someone else was inside. A woman. Glossy red lipstick, tight pencil skirt, a designer bag worth more than Lila's rent. A read, she said with a perfect smile. We missed you at the fundraiser. You're busy, he replied coolly, his eyes flicking to Lila. The woman turned to her, blinking once as if confused.
And this is, Lila backed away slightly, already shrinking into herself.
Reed answered, calm as ever.
This is Lila. She keeps my office from collapsing into chaos.
The woman didn't reply, just nodded stiffly and stepped out as if the elevator smelled like bleach. When the doors shut, silence fell. Lila finally spoke. You didn't have to say that. I didn't say anything untrue, he said. But she thinks I'm just the cleaning girl you're flirting with. She thinks a lot of things. I've learned not to care. She looked up at him then. What do you care about? He paused. You, he said, apparently. She didn't respond. Because when a billionaire CEO says something like that to a shy maid in an empty elevator, there is no script. Just a wildly beating heart, and a future that suddenly feels dangerously real. Lila tried to ignore it. The glances, the whispers, the way the receptionist paused every time she walked in now, eyebrows raised just enough to ask a question she wouldn't dare say aloud. It started small. A Primrose supervisor pulled her aside. You've been reassigned, he said too casually. No more late nights on the 48th or 49th. She blinked. Why? A new client rotation. Standard stuff. But she could see the discomfort in his eyes. She wasn't being moved. She was being removed. That night she didn't see Reed because she wasn't cleaning his floor anymore. Because someone had noticed. Because 2 weeks of quiet smiles and unspoken tension had started to look suspicious. She didn't expect the flowers. The next morning, a delivery man showed up at her tiny studio apartment with a slim white box and a small cream envelope. Inside were a dozen pale yellow roses. Not red, not pink, yellow, friendship, thoughtfulness, or maybe caution. The note read, You disappeared. I don't like that. R.A., her hands trembled, not from fear, from the terrifying hope that maybe this man, this untouchable billionaire, missed her. She didn't know what to do, so she did nothing, until 3 days later, when her phone buzzed with a call from a number that made her stomach flip. Reed, Asher. She let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then she picked up. Hi, you ghosted me, he said. Or was it something I said? It's everything you are. A pause. Come to dinner, he said. Yeah, I clean things for a living. Then you'll enjoy my kitchen. It's a disaster. She said yes, not because she was ready, but because something inside her whispered that if she didn't say yes now, she'd never forgive herself. His penthouse was insane. Warm wood tones, stone, minimalist art, a rooftop view of the city that made her forget she ever had anxiety. He cooked, burned the garlic, cursed under his breath. She laughed so hard she almost dropped a plate. You know, he said, most people don't laugh at me. Most people probably don't see you set pasta on fire. Affair, they ate slightly overcooked linguine on his balcony, knees brushing, silence comfortable. And then, he asked, Why are you scared of me? She didn't lie. Because men like you don't look twice at girls like me. And when they do, it's usually a game. He was quiet. Then, I don't play games, Lila. She looked away. You don't have to. The world plays them for you. He didn't kiss her, not yet. But he did touch her hand as he walked. Not possessively, just grounding. Real. And for the first time she wondered if maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a mistake. The next time Lila saw Reed Asher in public, she wasn't wearing a cleaning uniform. She was in a borrowed navy dress, heels half a size too big, and an updo her roommate had helped pin together in a panic. And he looked like power in a suit. Reed had invited her, as his date, to a small investor dinner, claiming it was a low profile. But from the moment she stepped into the candlelit rooftop venue, she felt the heat of a dozen curious eyes. Whispers floated between champagne glasses. Is that the girl from the cleaning service? She doesn't even look corporate. And maybe she's just a placeholder. But Reed, he didn't flinch. He kept her close all night, introduced her without shame. This is Lila Moreau, he told an astonished board member. She has better instincts than half of you. Some laughed, some didn't. But Lila? She smiled through it. She wasn't trying to impress them. She was just trying to survive. Later, on the rooftop balcony, away from the murmurs and martini glasses, she exhaled for the first time all night. Reed joined her, jacket off, tie loosened. He handed her a glass of water like he'd been watching her panic levels rise. You did well, he said. I didn't say anything. Exactly, he replied. That's called reading the room. She gave him a tired look. Your world is sharp red. It cuts. He was quiet for a moment, then said more gently, I've spent 10 years in it. Most of the time I forget how to breathe. Then why stay? Because no one ever handed me a way out. She looked at him then, really looked, and realized something. He wasn't the unshakable king she thought he was. He was just a man who'd built a fortress to survive. That night, he kissed her, not in front of anyone, not for show. On the elevator ride back to his penthouse as the doors closed and the silence settled, he leaned in and kissed her like he'd been waiting forever. It wasn't perfect, it was better. It was real. But the world didn't stay quiet for long. 3 days later, a photo leaked. A grainy shot of Red and Lila on the rooftop, their heads close, her hand brushing his sleeve. It hit tabloids by morning. Billionaire Red Asher seen with mystery woman. Insider says she's just the cleaning staff. Lila's phone exploded. Her supervisor called. Clients complained. People she hadn't spoken to since high school were suddenly in her inbox. The judgment came fast and brutal. A gold digger, a CEO's side project, is leaping her way up. She hid in her apartment for 2 days, paralyzed with shame, until Reed showed up at her door. No suit, no chauffeur. Just him, holding coffee and fury behind his ice blue eyes. You're not hiding from them, Lila. You're hiding from me. He didn't ask for this, she whispered, and neither did I. But I'm not backing out. He stepped forward. Tell me to go, and I will. But if you want this, I'll fight, for real, in front of everyone. She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she opened the door wider and let him in. It should have been a turning point. After Lila let Reed into her apartment and her world, it felt like the chaos might settle. But peace is temporary when you date a man like Reed Asher, a man with enemies, a man under constant surveillance, a man whose heart was no longer guarded. The storm came quickly, a leaked internal memo, allegations that Red had hired unauthorized staff in sensitive areas of the company, the implication that he'd broken security protocol for her. The CEO compromises privacy for personal interest, one article claimed. Who is Lila Moreau and how deep is her influence? It didn't matter that Lila had never touched a confidential file. It didn't matter that Reed had never misused power. The narrative had been written. Now it was war. Reed called an emergency press briefing. The room was tense. Investors sat with tight jaws. Board members whispered in corners. And Lila? She watched it all from backstage, her heart pounding like it wanted to escape her chest. Then he stepped up to the mic. Calm, sharp, brutal in his clarity. I didn't violate any. What I violated was an expectation that people like me don't open their lives to people like her. Lila Moreau is not a threat. She's not a liability. She's the reason I remember why I started this company. For something real. And if the price of keeping her in my life is losing shareholders who mistake cruelty for strength, so be it. He found her standing alone, fingers trembling. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. You put everything at risk. I know, he said. I just chose the only thing worth protecting. That night, the press spun a new story. A narrative of the powerful CEO who stepped off the pedestal for a woman who had no title, no lineage, only honesty. Lila Moreau, they began calling her, was the maid who made the billionaire human. But it wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about the quiet moment the next morning, when Red made her coffee without asking how she liked it, because he already knew. It was about her falling asleep with her head on his chest while he read aloud from her favourite book. It was about how he still teased her for overusing lemon-scented everything and how she teased him back for pretending he didn't cry during Pride and Prejudice. It was about becoming each other's anchor, not in public, in private, where it mattered most. 1 year later, the gala was back. This time, Lila wasn't a maid. She wasn't an employee. She wasn't a scandal. She was Lila Moreau, co-founder of Clean Slate, a non-profit she and Red launched to create job pathways for underprivileged women. She walked in wearing a white satin gown, her hair up, eyes steady. And on her hand, a diamond ring so delicate, it looked like a promise whispered, not shouted. Reed stood beside her, his armour gone, his pride intact, his love undeniable. Someone asked him, what made you fall for her? He didn't blink. She was the only person who ever walked into my world without trying to impress me. And the only one who ever left me speechless. As they stepped onto the dance floor, Lila whispered to him, You never finished telling me what you thought the first time you saw me. He smirked, pulling her close, saying, I thought that girl just wiped down my $1 million desk like it was a grocery store counter. I'm either terrified or in love. She laughed against his chest, and when the music swelled, they danced not as Maid and Millionaire, not as Scandal and Saviour, but as two people who never expected to find each other and refused to let go once they did.